Coming up in this broadcast, industrial action looms as organized labor sends strong message to governments to declare states of emergency by end of September or face their wrath.
Having considered all of this, organized labor today decided that 1, an immediate declaration of state of emergency in line with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, Article 31, the declaration must incorporate the following. A, an order to halt all forms of mining, legal or illegal, in forest reserves and around water bodies.
That is not the only pressure on governments, as the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference has also added their voices for a complete and total ban on illegal mining.
We, the Archbishops and Bishops of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, call to end environmental degradation through illegal mining.
We have details of that full-blown joint press conference called to pile pressure on governments to act, plus a reaction from the small-scale miners who believes people are being emotional in the fight against the menace. And later in this broadcast, embattled former Deputy Sports Minister Pius Enamhajide, implicated in Australia visa scandal, justifies recent intention to facilitate USA visas for electorate to watch 2026 World Cup if elected Member of Parliament.
I assisted some people to travel to even Australia. Why I cannot do that?
We have details of that for you, plus a reaction shortly. Now, later on this broadcast, the Ghana Statistical Service attributes inflation fall to seasonality as 2.2% reduction in food prices in August drives inflation down for 5th consecutive month.
The consumer price index on a month-on-month basis that we're recording for the month of August 2024 of 0.7% is consistent with the seasonality argument that we have always put up based on what happens in the month of August and September.
We have the details of these and many other stories coming up in this broadcast. Do stay.
Starr News is coming to you live. Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for choosing Starr today. This broadcast is streaming live on our Facebook platform at Starr FM. Now, an industrial action is staring the Akufo-Addo government and Ghanaians in the face if nothing concrete is done to completely end the illegal mining menace. This threat by organized labor is expected to kick in at the end of September if Galamsey is not halted. Already, health professionals and the University Teachers Association have threatened civil disobedience to clamor for stringent actions by the government against the mining activities. Speaking at a press conference today, Deputy Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour, Kenneth Kumsin, demanded the immediate declaration of a state of emergency in the Galamsey-affected areas, a halt to mining in forest reserves, the creation of special courts for prosecuting offenders, and the deployment of the military to dismantle mining equipment.
We needed to make sure that we get all the organized labor groups to align with the issues and take a common decision going forward. Organized labor, having considered the fact that we have about 200,000 here, the perpetrators of this what we call genocidal activity, illegal mining, Galamsey, constitute about 200,000. which is about 0.67% of the total 30 million population. So you can imagine how small that number is and the kind of devastation they are causing to all of us. Again, we're also told that already about 2.5 million hectares of our forest reserves already decimated. Now, that 2.5 million hectares, if you convert it, is about 25,000 square kilometers. That is about the size of Rwanda. So you are looking at a crisis situation where a whole country can just disappear because of some few greedy bastards. So we have taken a decision. And let me read just a portion of what organized labor has resolved. Recognizing all the issues, the turbidity levels, and we're also told that the acceptable range, as mentioned by the Ghana Water Corporation, of the level of, if you like, pollution or disturbance within the water body is within 2,000, now escalated to 14,000, which is about 600% increase. This is very alarming. Having considered all of this, organized labor today decided that one, an immediate declaration of state of emergency in line with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, Article 31, the declaration must incorporate the following. A, an order to halt all forms of mining, legal or illegal, in forest reserves and around water bodies. Immediate evacuation of all mining equipment in forest reserves and around water bodies. C, the deployment of police and military with full orders to remove, destroy all mining equipment, earth-moving equipment around river bodies and in the forest reserve. 2, the immediate revocation of LI 2462 and the withdrawal of all licenses that have been granted for prospecting in mining in forests and protected reserves and also around water bodies. Establish a special to prosecute the perpetrators of this horrible crime. Now, this is our firm and resolute position that organized labor would urgently embark on series of demonstrations and a nationwide strike if government fails to address concerns raised by end of September 2024. Now, we call on all well-meaning Ghanaians to join organized labor and your good self to ensure that this becomes a thing of the past. My brothers and sisters, this is a call which I believe we have joined quite belatedly, but it's not too late. And we believe strongly that with a very strong, coordinated effort, we shall achieve the objective.
Well, on his part, the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, warned of a looming water crisis if Galamsey persists, and he's joined us over the phone lines for more details on that. Mr. Ashigbe, thank you very much for your time this evening. First of all, how did we get here as a country by allowing Galamsey to destroy our water bodies?
Well, it's a result of leadership failure. It's leadership right from the very top to our local leaders and the greed that has accompanied it. And so you notice that right from 2016, when we're getting close to the elections, you saw the activities of the opposition party then, stoking the fight that the NDC were carrying out. So the likes of the president himself was, said in Obuasi, telling them that it was not true. If he came, he was coming to destroy Galamsey. Then we also saw in 2020, the NDC also, we have some of their candidates going around and also saying that if, you voted for the president, the current president, that he will continue the fight against illegality. And if you voted for their candidate, the former President John Mahama, then if he comes on the 7th of January, they can return to their Galamsey pit. And ever since after the elections, really there have not been a concerted effort. Operation Halt have been attempting something, but really nothing has happened. And you've also had a situation where politically exposed persons, you had the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources pointing out that at Kunta Mining, that one of the directors is the MPP's Ashanti Regional Party chairperson. His company was involved in illegally mining in the Tanonimri Forest Reserve. Nothing happened to him. The Busumi Frenho, former DCE, was caught on tape, confessing to that illegality. He's not been prosecuted. Nothing has happened to him. And so it emboldens people. And so we get people, you see them on the bridges, you see Chamfans on the water body. Then the NDC and the MPP also start in Parliament and pass the LI 2462. That permits people to get into these forest reserves, some of which also has our the water source for most of our water bodies. And so the greed, the lack of leadership, the complicity of those who have to deal with it. You had the Speaker of Parliament point out in Parliament themselves that some of them, the parliamentarians were either involved in it or were collecting money from those who were involved in this. We know the ECs that are complicit. We know of some MPs that themselves are also complicit in it. We know people who are the seat of government who are involved in it. One of the things that we've given to ourselves as media, in the coming days, a lot more investigative journalism is going to take place. And we'll start naming and shaming people, providing the evidence such that our lawyers will start going to court.
I know that you say that this is as a result of leadership failure, but the government, or according to reports that we have seen, indicates that it has donated about 300 million Ghana cedis to the fight against galamsey. So would you say the government has entirely failed, or it has at least made some efforts?
So I think we have to make, the point has to be stated that, if you take this particular government, when His Excellency the President decided that he was prepared to put his presidency on the line, the Inter-Ministerial Task Force was set up, Operation Vanguard came in. Some positive work went on. And even there, you could see the turbidity of water reducing significantly and all of that. But because of the point I had made earlier on about, elections and partisanship that had gotten into it, and the fact that the greed that had accompanied it, and a lot of these efforts that we have, monies that would have put into it, currently, if you have the Ghana Water telling you that turbidity is at 14,000 NTUs instead of the 2,000 NTUs, then you realize the fact that we really did not come or go. If you have the situations where you have children in some of these areas born very deformed, you have a lot of stillbirths, you have renal diseases on the high, you have, now even beyond killing all our river bodies, now we haven't threatening the places where our artisanal fishermen go to fish, because we are polluting the estuaries and all of that, based on the illegal activities that are going on. And so we have spent all of that money. But again, look at what results do you have for it? And you ask yourself, if all these drones were up in the sky, how come we still have, now you don't even need a drone. No? You go by the side of the road, and then you see, then you're on the bridge, you can see the Chamfans on the water body. A place like Enyinem, the brim is behind the police headquarters. They are mining, there's illegal going on. So if you have spent all of this money, and still you have the situations that you currently have, and you have genocide going on, where we are poisoning ourselves, and nothing is being done by leadership. You have spent money, but it almost as if the money is being wasted.
Doug, we acknowledge the effort put in place by CSOs and other relevant stakeholders in the fight against galamsey, but do you genuinely think that this will be a fight that Ghana can win? Because we have listened to politician Mount's campaign podiums and say that if they're voted into power, they will grant amnesty to jailed galamseyers. Napa recently also said that he's going to make sure that all seized excavators are returned to persons that are involved in the act. Do you really think this is something that Ghana can ever win?
No, so again, it's great that Starr FM, you're focusing on, so for us, for these two political leaders to have said the things they said, those are the things that if you hear the Catholic Bishops' Conference, you hear the Media Coalition, you hear organized labor, those are the things that as citizens, and not spectators, we are not going to accept again. So beyond the fact that we are going to be asking the president to declare the state of emergency, we are going to be calling on all political parties, especially their presidential candidates, to also declare support for this crisis response. And so nobody can be saying that if I come back, people who have been jailed, they have regretted, so we'll release them. That cannot be the way we'll fight it. And then I cannot understand how a running mate currently will be saying that excavators that have been confiscated, he's going to release it so that people can get food to eat. What about the poisoning that people are doing to themselves? What about the water that the people are not going to drink, are not going to get to drink? So we are not going to be tolerating that of the political party. So as a follow-up to today's action press conference, we're going to be writing to His Excellency the President and telling him, giving him the 5-point resolution that I'm sure he's heard already, and then we would include that for Labour as well. And then we will also be writing to all the presidential candidates wanting to meet them. And in that meeting, we'll be expecting to get public declaration of the fact that they are in support of this. If they are not in support of this action, then we as citizens, we will also tell politics, and we also will tell the electorate that these people are not part of the solution. They are part of the problem. So don't vote for them. So it is something that we are going to really bring front and center. And we're not going to be tolerating parliamentary candidates going around and saying if the forces can attack them. Neither are we going to tolerate the situations where people would say people have regretted. So instead of letting the law, have its course, you are going to release them when we are in this dire crisis.
Right, Doug, you would agree with me that this fight will definitely require a concerted effort. What role do traditional leaders have to play in all of this? Because you'd acknowledge that most of these Galamsey activities happen right under their watch.
So again, if you take the statement made by the Bishops' Conference, they also raised the fact that we need to get traditional leaders involved. So we would definitely be calling on the Tutuwaa, who has demonstrated the right leadership that is required. Not only does he condemn and talk about it, he actually takes steps to deal with it, something we have not seen the state do. There are some traditional chiefs that are also doing it. We will start, because the steering committee might be in Accra, we will be calling on the Gamanche and other chiefs that are here. We'll be calling on the National House of Chiefs for them to act their active voices to it. Any chief who is involved in this. And another step that we are going to take is that we are going to declare that any landowner whose land is found to be used for Galamsey, who has not made a report, that is something that Occupy Ghana in their statement pointed out. That had not made a report to the police station, we will start bringing action against you, and we'll be pushing that your land should be forfeited to the state. Reclaimed, but you lose it. So we are going to be telling the chiefs themselves that they, as custodians of the land, should also be telling other landowners that any landowner that allows his land to be used for Galamsey, we will push to ensure that through the legal means, those lands will also be confiscated, and we will start looking for lawyers that will start bringing cases against these people. We know that at the ICC, the whole conversation around the ecocide is something that has not been done yet. But we believe that with the poisoning of the Ghanaians, with this war crimes that are being committed, almost like genocide, we would explore the means, even including going to the ICC, for our duty bearers who are actually not doing what they are doing, and they are resulting in, that pregnant woman who just, the only crime she committed was that she was going to have nature's call, fall into a pit and die. Or this young man from KNUSC who was on vacation, gone to one of these places, going to save a friend and died in the pit. We will make sure that blood is not only just on the heads of our leaders, but they are held responsible for their inactivity, either their complicity or their corruption that has led into these things, so that they would also face the full rigors of the law.
Right. Organized labor is threatening to embark on an industrial action after September 30 when no results are heard from the presidency. Will you join forces with them?
So at today's press conference, we also said that we were completely joined at the hip with organized labor. So the call for demonstration and the call for strikes, with the end of September being the timeline, it's something that the media coalition is also aligned with. We are fully in support of that. One of the first actions we might be taking would be a blackout of the ministries of all the ministries that have to be acting on this that are not doing it. ministries of land, ministries of water and sanitation, ministries of environment who are failing to act, and all their agencies and all of that. The first step in terms of the media's also strike action would be a complete ban on whatever it is that those actions are doing. But definitely we are in support, and we are going to be calling on, beyond labor, we're going to also be calling on people who are not even in the union, the non-unionized people. We're going to be calling on various professional bodies to all support that September if no action is taken, so that we make sure that, as again, taking advice from His Excellency the President himself, we would be citizens and not spectators.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I've been engaging Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, the convener of the Coalition of Media Against Galamsey. Now, meanwhile, President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Matthew Jemfi, has also joined the growing calls for a complete and decisive ban on Galamsey. Take a listen to him.
We sum up our message as protecting our common home, a call to end environmental degradation through illegal mining. We, the Archbishops and Bishops of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, have over the years, indeed since 2009, been consistently vocal about the environmental degradation caused by illegal mining, particularly the phenomenon of Galamsey, which has unleashed devastating consequences on our country's ecosystems, water bodies, and communities. The conference is deeply concerned about the persistent and alarming levels of environmental degradation caused by such activities. And all Ghanaians, most of us, are witnesses to this. For us, in his encyclical Laudato Si', Pope Francis calls on all people to care for our common home, the earth. As stewards of creation, we have a moral responsibility to guard the environment for current and future generations. However, the indiscriminate activities of illegal miners continue to undermine this responsibility. Previous communiques. We recall our previous communiques. You can look at 2009, 2010, 2015, 2016 to 2023 that have dealt thematic areas such as the scourge of Galamsey, a threat to our nation's future. Galamsey, a call to conscience and action, protecting our environment, protecting our future. And we must end Galamsey to save our country. These are topics we have dealt with in detail and which we have distributed all over Ghana. Please, you may want to find a link to all these statements made by the Conference on Galamsey since 2009 on the net, and the address is here. These statements demonstrate our long-standing commitment as a conference to addressing this menace. Unfortunately, the situation has not improved. If anything at all, it has worsened, and we must continue to sound the alarm. On our previous pastoral and social visits, various pastoral and social visits to our people in their localities, as well as our many travels across the country, we see, and we do not only see, we also denounce. And we do not only denounce, we decry the wicked and greedy destruction of our forest resources. These are some areas of concern that must call all of us to action today. 1, destruction of our water bodies. Illegal mining has polluted several of our rivers, such as the Pra, the Ankobra, Danso, Tano, Ofe, and Brim, rendering them undrinkable and unfit for agricultural and domestic use. And my attention has been drawn to these beautiful bottles. I don't know whether they are beautiful or they are ugly. But look at this. And this is all that some of us depend on for food and drink.
Still on the effects of illegal mining, Star News engaged the public on what they make of the canker.
President should declare state of emergency on illegal mining. That's one. And also repeal or revoke the LI 2462, which allows mining in globally significant biodiversity areas. And we also know that these areas house endemic species, biodiversity, and also house water bodies which supply to various communities. And also the third is to investigate all the people that were named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's reports on the illegal mining. So,
over two Crawford, watch assassin. Maybe ya or be on fire tree, say soon neha a man a buying problem. And also two Crawford measure assassin, Galamsino area, no be our bahono, a pamomo, Nasum Yeba. Nian super passano.
As I say, when we jay, sans I may yaquara, metana, in Coqua curase, a baby, in Suya quas, we are yet the and Sacra near Habai, and essence you know, and Susie and Tessa, in tears, say a fortune ye jay, or beyond ye view, because Sicadia ye did.
You just heard some Ghanaians sharing their thoughts about the illegal mining menace.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
You're still listening to Starr today. To some other stories now. The embattled former Deputy Sports Minister Pius Enamhajide, who was implicated in the Australian visa scandal, has promised his constituents of an easy travel to the United States of America for the 2026 FIFA World Cup if elected as MP. Mr. Hajide made the juicy promise during a recent campaign engagement in his constituency. Hajide's comment is not without controversy. In 2017, he was implicated in the notorious Australian visa scandal, which involved several people parading as journalists to enable them secure visas and attend Commonwealth Games in that country. Although he was initially suspended during the investigation, he was later exonerated and reinstated by President Nana Akufo-Addo. Let's first take a refresh of our memories of that visa scandal and Pius' subsequent interview with Nana Aba-Anamwa on sister station GH1 TV's State of Affairs, in which Pius stated emphatically that he was never implicated in that scandal.
I say you can ask for a report, but the fact that a report has not been published does not in itself mean that I'm guilty. And I've gone ahead to suggest to you that I was investigated by the police CID. I was not investigated by a committee in which the president can, through a white paper, reject, accept, or modify, and therefore release the report. When the police conduct criminal investigations about somebody, the police proceed to court if there is evidence. Normally, that's how the police operate. If the police do not find evidence, the police do not call a press conference to announce. However, if you believe that this is a matter of public, there is public interest in this matter, and you want to ask the police to go out of their normal practice to publish a report, you can make that claim. But to suggest that that means that I am guilty and that I've been indicted, I'm not aware I've been indicted. And I don't know what he talks about.
That was an earlier conversation with Pius and Nana Aba-Anamwa somewhere in 2017. But fast forward to 2024, and Pius has once again stoked the hornets, next by promising to send his constituents to the United States of America for the 2026 World Cup if he is elected to Parliament. Take a listen to his latest promise.
Ako Australia, na muni masembi. Ufri Ghana, na uko Australia. Ubetina aeroplane mu 18 hours. Enukrano, nipabi etumidi mechi yako. World Cup eba, ayeba bebo afifufra ayeba bewremu yi. Yebe nu ewa America. Enunu 7 hours spend na wedu America. Nanadum semu pese mu manumu enko America no munko bobra na sikebi emrefia. To Abanamami, uye bebuno, ewa paso, uye bebuno, ewa desase, uye bebuno, ewa Newtown, now pese utukwa, me Pius, me be ye wempia, me di ube tukwai, me di ube ko, na mino, mintise ampim, na yamawa Kenya, na wudi usako se udemri frem, na ejuma na yedi ase usase buwa nepano, unto me wano, China will be full froso, and be ya, Usiminchi, Konongo Kaya, Mintesa, and Timeno, Uye Bebuno, now Opesa Utukwan, Uko Germany, Uko America, Uko UK, Uko France, baby a upese ubeko bia no, ubuamia, misu minya kwenya, misu mebuao.
Now, in an exclusive interview on Starr FM, Pius Hajide justified the comments, saying, as a leader, his duty is to facilitate such opportunities for his constituents.
I don't see the scandal in it. Nobody has been able to establish my involvement, and I've denied my involvement in a so-called Australia visa scandal. The police CID investigated the matter, and I was given a clean bill of health. But if you have desperate politicians who do not have a mercy, and they want to thrive on character assassination, and they want to thrive on propaganda, that one, there is little control I have over that. And so the NDC, their operatives, their assigns, they can continue speaking about a non-existent Australia visa scandal, and they can trick my involvement in it. But I go to bed with a clear conscience. I've been investigated, the matter has been laid to rest, and nobody has been able to prove that Pius is involved in any so-called scandal. So I don't see why we keep going back to that. Right. I'm saying that I assisted some people to travel to even Australia. Why? I cannot do that. There are many people who go to Australia to do many things. Some go there for medical purposes. Some go to school. And I'm saying that I've assisted some people to go to Australia before. And I'm saying that I will assist people to go to America. They will go to Germany. They will go to UK. If it is within my power, if it is within my means, and we will use all the laid down processes to be able to facilitate things. As a leader, as an agent of development, the thing that it is wrong for me to facilitate the travel opportunities for my constituents who are interested in going for further studies, who are probably interested in going to study outside. I'm not sure what we are having a conversation about. Right. And we are allowing the NBC and their propaganda apologists to lead the narrative. What is it, my brother, that Pius has said that is a breach of a law or that is even an immoral statement? I mean, I cannot help people, so what's the whole point?
Well, Pius Enam Hajide is the parliamentary candidate for the Asuajaman constituency, but his critics, including members of the largest opposition NDC, appear unenthused by that justification. And joining us over the phone lines for a conversation is Eric Edem Agbana, who is a sectoral spokesperson of sports for the NDC 2024 campaign. Edem, thank you very much for your time. Before we delve into this conversation properly, what will be your first impression of Pius's promise to his constituents?
Well, thank you so much. And let me say good evening to all our cherished listeners across the country. And let me say good evening to my brother, Pius Enam Hajide. My initial reaction when I saw the comments, when I saw the video of Pius addressing his constituents and making all of these promises to his constituents, it was that Pius really does not really understand his mandate as somebody seeking to enter into parliament, and he's making promises that he knows may bring him trouble. He knows that his comments have vindicated members of the NDC and discerning Ghanaians who believe that the accusations against him, that he was a key member of government and part of the people who took people who went to impeach journalists, people who were not athletes but went pretending to be athletes, took them to Australia. At the time that every Ghanaian is interested in knowing the context of the report that cleared Pius Enam Hajide, he went to commit himself and gladly accepted that, facilitated those travels, and as such, he will do same when we are qualifying for the World Cup. But now this is the point. In 2026, the first point I want Pius to understand is that his government, the NPP, will not even be in power, for which there will be that opportunity for him as a member of the NPP to facilitate travels, visas, and be engaged in all of this visa racketeering for political reasons. His party will not be in power, and the party, the government that will be in power, which is the government of President Mahama and the NDC, will be a responsible government and will not engage in such activities.
Adam, I understand, but Pius argues that as a leader, if he's in the position to facilitate such moves, he can do that. Don't you agree?
Pius built a promise.
Hello, Adam. Kindly position yourself properly so we can have a conversation. Your line is not too stable at the moment.
If you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
The point I'm making is that Pius built the promise of facilitating visas for the U.S. trip on his track record. And the track record here in question is the track record of facilitating visas for people to travel to Australia and record that in this country. A critical issue as to the report on which President Akufo-Addo took the decision to clear Pius. To use in clearing him and saying that he was not guilty of the accusation. Till today, we have not seen the report, and people said we were playing this politics. Pius, on numerous occasions, denied his involvement in the facilitation of the travel of Ghanaians to Australia. But today, he himself has admitted that he played a key role. He took people to Australia and is promising his constituents. Why? Constituents Black Stars players. We have some of the people he was promising as a member of the management of the Black Stars. Do we have any of the people he is promising as an official of the Ghana Football Association? The crowd or the gathering that he was speaking to, are they Supporters Union or do they consider the Supporters Union that meets the qualifications to travel to the United States? So
Adam, hold on for me. You are also a parliamentary candidate, right? In the event that your constituents decide to vote for you and they need help with accessing or getting visas, wouldn't you be able to assist them in any way?
Tell me what Pius says. See, let's not divert the discussion to what a member of parliament intends to do for you.
Okay.
In any case, facilitating travels, the position of member of parliament is not a travel agency. I know, and I have helped members of my constituents, especially those who have gained admission, those who got scholarships, wanted support. Some we take them to colleagues, we take them to people whose offices can write letters, cover letters, to back them and claim that, oh, this is my constituent, admission to so and so university, and I am providing backing that in terms of default of school fees or abuse, I, the member of parliament, is the person's guaranteed the source. Those ones are done. And when you go and meet your constituents and you are promising them, you make a particular, specific promise that in 2026, I will take this World Cup. And that in the past, I took people to Australia. When several occasions, knowledge of the involvement of people who assassinated journalists, when on many occasions you claim that you were innocent. Now today, the chickens have come to roost. And look, let it be known to Pius and all the NPP parliamentary candidates across the country that the NDC will not sit aloof, watch them to see the Ghanaian people like they did in 2016 and they succeeded again in 2020.
Right, Adam. Thank you very much.
What it says is that, let me conclude, that President Mahama and the NDC, we are of a firm belief that this government has destroyed our sports sector with so much corruption. And these are the things. People who are qualified athletes do not get visas to travel, but constituents, party apparatchiks, no business traveling with the sports team. That's not the ones that get the opportunity to do so. And that is why there's need for us to respect the country. We must respect Ghana. Speak today.
Right. Thank you very much. I've been engaging Adam Agbana, who is a sectoral spokesperson for sports for the NDC 2024 campaign. Away from that development, a presidential candidate for the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, Alan Tremantin, has officially nominated Kwame Owusu-Danso as his running mate and filed his nomination forms to contest the 2024 presidential election. He filed his nomination at the Electoral Commission's office a short while ago. Let me come in the studios and have a conversation with my colleague, Obed Kengaglo, who has been following this development. Obed, thank you very much. This comes as quite a surprise. What more can you report?
So today is the second day for filing of nomination for presidential candidates for the political parties and also independent candidates. And today, 3 persons filed their nominations, including Alan Tremantin, who filed his nomination. And then big news is that he disclosed his running mates, who happened to be Kwame Owusu-Danso. Many people may know Kwame Danso, but others may not know him. So Kwame Danso is a journalist, is a musician. Those who remember the song Golo Golo, Shake Your Golo Golo. Yeah, they sang that song. It was a group called Echo. He was part of that group, if you remember. So that is Kwame Danso. He works with the Pan-African TV as a show host. And so that is Kwame Danso.
And that is the person Alan settled on.
Yeah, so the reasons Alan gave for the nomination is that Kwame Danso is relatively young, youth for that matter.
So the whole idea is to appeal to the youth.
To the youth, because he's been a musician before, he's been a broadcast journalist, and he's been on the screens and has done some activism for the youth. And so he believes that he will appeal to the younger population. And so that was the reason why he chose Kwame Danso as his running mate. But I think that it's important that we also highlight the other persons who also filed their nomination today. And so the NDP, who also filed their nomination, NDP founder Nana Konadu Agyemang-Rawlings. But this time round, she is not the presidential candidate. He's not the flag bearer of the party. Rather, Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong is the flag bearer of the NDP. He also came with his running mate. And then the third person today was an independent candidate whose name I'll get later on. So today has been the second day for the filing of nomination at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. So 3 persons filed their nominations today.
Right. Obed, thank you very much for those updates there. Today has been the third day of the filing of nominations, and as my colleague reports, Alan Tremantin has settled on Kwame Owusu-Danso, a journalist, as his running mate. We'll bring you details of that development in our subsequent broadcast. But the Greater Accra Regional Police Command has granted approval for the routes and termination points for the National Democratic Congress's upcoming demonstration on 17th September, which is aimed at expressing the party's discontent with the Electoral Commission. The NDC had earlier described the recent voter transfer exercise conducted by the EC, by the Electoral Management Body, as one marred by a plethora of anomalies, thereby compromising the integrity of the electoral register. The party asserts that the irregularities uncovered necessitate the engagement of a forensic auditor to ensure the register's integrity and guarantee peaceful, free and fair elections. The NDC emphasizes that in the absence of such an audit, it has no confidence in the sanctity of the register, hence its decision to stage simultaneous demonstrations across the 16 regional capitals of the country. Here is the General Secretary, Fifi Fiabikwete, speaking to the media after meeting with the Greater Accra Regional Police hierarchy.
Regional police bosses, and the agreement is that we are going to proceed with our demonstration on the 17th of this month. That's next Tuesday, and it's going to happen not just in Greater Accra but in all the other regions of the country at the same time. We wanted to have a confirmation about the endpoints. In terms of the routes, we had an agreement that we're going to start from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, proceed through to Farisco, continue through to TUC, continue through the ministries and come all the way to Parliament, and then end up in in front of the premises of the Electoral Commission. We wanted to have the exact location. That's why we came in the police to come and see exactly where it is we wanted to have the termination point, and we've been able to agree on that as well. Generally, in terms of the importance of this demonstration, is to say that it is something that is beyond the embassy. It's a critical election ahead of Ghana. It is in everybody's interest to ensure that especially the register that's going to be in the center of this whole election is credible. It's one that everybody can have absolute confidence in. We've had clear instances to say that there are issues, and we are pressing for forensic audit to be done, and that actually is the reason why we want to embark on this demonstration. The NCO just rightly said, if there's really nothing to hide, then there should really be no problem at all. You should be able to open your door and say, listen, come and check and be certain that there's nothing, in order for the whole country to proceed knowing that everything is okay. So generally that's what it is. We are asking the whole of the country to join this demonstration. It's critical for our peace, it's critical for our the very safety of our elections, to ensure that this country is able to go to election and come out in one piece. It's critical. So.
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, some civil society organizations have deployed a tool to curb the abuse of state resources and votes buying for the December 7 general election. The phenomenon of votes buying and abuse of state resources, especially by incumbent government, has been on the rise in the country, with analysts warning the development has the potential of derailing Ghana's democracy. Speaking to Starr News at the launch of the monitoring campaign, spending and abuse of incumbency projects, the executive director of the Ghana Integrative Initiative, Mary Ada, pointed to loopholes in Ghana's campaign financing laws leading to abuse. Mrs. Ada disclosed the project will expose such practices with the aim of ensuring reforms. She warned corporates will not only be named and shamed, but will also face the special prosecutor if need be.
Certainly, as the Constitution, as I spelled out earlier, the Constitution envisages some of these things, and so it was put together to ensure that we all come to the playing field equally represented. So some level of equity, as it says, that the state media shall give fair amount of space for coverage for all political parties, not just major. It didn't say, it says all. So if people are interested in politics, certainly they should be given the opportunity to express and air their views and grievances. So the consortium made up of GII, GACC, and CDD are particularly interested in documenting instances around the abuse of state resources, including the media, including platforms, including institutions, and also all other setups that belong to the states. But also the issue of campaign financing, because as we speak, as I indicated earlier as well, we have seen that our democracy is suffering. It is not those who are well-resourced, endowed, interested in serving the nation who are serving, but those who rather have money. And when we talk about people having money and being able to serve, then it means women, the young people who are energetic and very vociferous do not get this space. Also, it means that when it comes to issues around how to get the money to engage, people are not bothered about integrity. And so we have issues around serious and organized crime permeating the space of our democracy. You see galamsey happening, and because the states or those who are in the space governing us are not able to speak to these issues because they are resourced through some of these data sources. We see fraud itself in real estate and others permeating the space because of the same thing. So it is increasingly become apparent that we need to have a regime that regulates our campaigning, that also regulates how we get money into our politics or to campaign.
Are existing laws not able to deal with these challenges?
No. As I mentioned earlier, one of the clear gaps we see is the fact that both the Political Parties Act and the Constitution did not envisage some of these, because we believe that we are a harness and a very great people who believe in volunteering to do the good job, and so it didn't envisage some of this. So you see the gaps in the Political Parties Act does not talk about limits in the financing. It doesn't also talk about who exactly, even though it says that it's only Ghanaians who can, but then people have companies in Ghana, and it talks about the individual, but then also the individual could have a company. And so that's another gap that we need to pay attention to. So these are some of the restrictions that we encounter. And also, it's not very clear where the line between the incumbent and then the abusing of his incumbency lies. So we are saying that as a state, we need to be able to define some of these parameters within which we can operate. One of the things we want to do as a project is also to come up with even talking about recommendations around per the findings, talk about recommendations around even limiting political campaigning periods, because as the process is elongated, we realize that you need more resources to be able to prosecute your campaign. But if we have a short period like it happens in Denmark and other places, then it means you would not be going out to take illegal monies and encourage people to mine illegally.
Now, one suggestion you made was about, say, commissioning of projects or cutting of sword. You think that as part of reforms, there should be a period when politicians are not allowed to do that?
Yes, and so one of the indicators we use to measure abuse of state resources and incumbency is the commissioning of projects. And so commissioning of projects is not a bad thing because we want development. But however, if those processes are used to campaign, then it's also because it denies the opposition the opportunity to also benefit. And so if we have built a road and the party comes and at the event, there are many people branding themselves in political party paraphernalia. If they brand the place, sometimes they will even use, how do you call those banners and flyers of parties in such events where the opposition cannot be present. Then it means there's an equal playing field being created. So we are saying that, as happens in India, you realize that within a certain period, within the tenure, the political office holder is not allowed to go out there to perform some of these duties. But then the technocrat can do so because it is within their mandate anyway. Why would the president go to commission a small road that is being constructed? Why would the president go to commission a small community pipe that has been built for a few people? We should allow the technocrats to do. And one of the purposes of this project is reforms. And so those reforms we would push for, and we hope and pray that we have this in the nearest future to ensure that we also become a best practice example which is cited across the globe.
Yeah, finally from me, how will the results be published? Is it about just naming and
So for us in civil society, we do not have the power to sanction. But then we have the power to advocate, and we have the power to speak to the issue. So naming and shaming would be one. We'll document the instances, we'll pick pictures, we'll take videos, we'll share this. And that's one of the ways we would work. And then we would share the reports, monthly reports of our work. Then at the end of the day, we would we'll be compiling a report that also brings on board expert views on how to carry this process forward.
Are you going to work with a special prosecutor, for instance?
Oh, certainly. It's a collaborative venture. You cannot work. It's not just with the special prosecutor, but with the AG, who would definitely, if there is a law being proposed, if we draft something, certainly the AG would have to come into it, Shraj or the special prosecutor, or any of the anti-corruption. Everybody is important. The media's role in this particular agenda is very critical.
But have there been any changes so far after this fight?
No,
some time ago? Have there been any changes?
Oh,
this fight?
You just heard the head of our political desk, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, in a conversation with the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Ada.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
Now, the Ghana Statistical Service is attributing the country's recent inflation decline to seasonality. This is after the service disclosed that the year-on-year rate of change in prices of goods and services in the country declined for the fifth straight month, falling from 20.9% in July to 20.4% in August 2024. This, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, was occasioned by a 0.7% reduction in prices of goods and services in the country for the month of August and a 2.2% fall in food prices alone in the month of August. Some traders have been speaking on the state of food prices in the country. Take a listen.
And onion last 2 months, now the same board. It's a mood to me. The same family, only customers. How are they affected the customers? Oh, I affect your move by a promise, no matter what. So, by the new boy again. Hello, Siano, Ukuta, 10 million go to me. Halfway, by then, I have a 15 million, 20 million, by an engineer, I'm not 15 million. By then, I'm not last year, by then, the other was so. It will be at me to be any of 10 city, 20. Halfway, Darby, halfway, 100 Ghana, we're meaning 50 Ghana, 100 Ghana, a first try,
But the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobna-Anim, has been explaining what is accounting for the price decline.
Focusing on overall month-on-month inflation between January 1988 and August 2024, we respond to the question of seasonalities to observe what has happened over the period 1998 to 2024, to identify periods where we have spikes in our month-on-month inflation and periods that we have troughs in our month-on-month inflation. With periods that we have spikes in our month-on-month inflation over the period 1998 and 2024, we see that of this period, January counts 20 times with spikes in month-on-month inflation, and on the flip side, we are seeing August and September respectively recording 10 and 8 times of the troughs that we see on a month-on-month basis. This picture is more dominated when we look at it from a food perspective in terms of the months that we record spikes in our month-on-month inflation and months that we record troughs in our month-on-month inflation. Over the same period, 1998 to 2024, from a food inflation perspective, we see the dominance of January over this period, and from a trough perspective, we see the dominance of September over the period 1998 and 2024, which supports the fact that the consumer price index on a month-on-month basis that we're recording for the month of August 2024 of 0.7% is consistent with the seasonality argument that we have always put up based on what happens in the month of August and September.
Professor Samuel Kobna-Anim is a government statistician. Now, the government has announced a significant increase in the producer price of cocoa for the 2024-2025 season, raising it from 2024 seasonal price of 20,908 Ghana cedis per ton to 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton. This translates to an increase from 1,308 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag sold at the beginning of the 2023-2024 season to 3,000 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag. For the new season, government in April this year adjusted the prices of a bag to 2,070 Ghana cedis after prices of cocoa on the international market doubled. Here is the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Champong, announcing the increase.
We are pleased to announce that the producer price of cocoa for the 2024-2025 season is 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton, or 3,000 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag. On the interseason basis, it has increased from 20,928 or 1,308 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag at the opening of the 2023-2024 season to now 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton, or 3,000 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag. I repeat, the price has moved from 20,908 Ghana cedis to 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton, or it has moved from 1,308 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag to 3,000 Ghana cedis per 64 kg bag. This is an unprecedented 129.36% increase from the season's announcement. The vision of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is that the cocoa industry remains robust, resilient, and sustainable for present and future generations. This appreciable increment in the producer price of cocoa signifies government's commitment to improve the sector and the livelihoods of the Ghanaian cocoa farmer. The 2024-25 price, margins, rates, and fees will take effect from today, Wednesday, 11 September 2024. On this note, I declare the 2024-2025 cocoa season to be duly open.
You just heard the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Champong, speaking there.
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
Well, you're still listening to Starr Today. Before we continue with the broadcast and delve into the campaign trail, let's do sports now. And Benghazi is already seated. Benghazi, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tutuwaa, Danso, and how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm very well, thank
Loving you. Is it red?
It's red.
Okay.
Whenever I wear red, it means there's an agenda. Yeah.
That's a good one. Anyway, agenda. Well, I don't come here with any agenda, but of course, the sporting agenda. And news is that Sadiq Adam, sports over my new sports journalist, has urged the government to summon and question the sports minister, the GF officials, and the NS officials over Ghana's, if you like, ban from using our sports to host our national team Black Stars games after CAF announced earlier today to, disapprove of Ghana's license to use the Obayara Stadium for its Black Stars games in the qualifiers for the AFCON and also for the World Cup qualifiers. Let's take a listen to Sadiq and on his call he made this afternoon on the day.
If I were the government too, if I were Nana Addo, I will question the leadership of sports in this country. Summon the minister, summon the National Sports Authority Director, summon GFA President, and ask them. I have said on several platforms, me Nana Addo, I have said on several platforms that I have invested in infrastructure than any government in the history of this country. It has come to my time. It has never happened in the history of Ghana that we have been banned from hosting matches in our country. So if I have invested this much and I can tout myself on platforms, why is it that the irony happens during my time? The government that has invested so much in infrastructure is the same government supervising the deplorable state of the pitches, leading to the national team field being withdrawn from hosting matches. So how did this happen? How do we marry the fact that the MPP government under Nana Addo says they have invested more than any government in the history of Ghana, in terms of finances, in terms of infrastructure?
Even with sports, severally, they've invested more.
No, they have said, I'm not saying.
They have said.
They have said, and it's on record, that they said they have invested more in infrastructure than any government.
That's true.
The basic infrastructure for sports is stadium.
Absolutely.
The basic one, FIFA laws, the first law is pitch.
Right.
Knowing the fundamental importance. If you say you have invested so much than any government, and it is your time that we don't have a common pitch
to host
So what kind of infrastructure did you? So he should question them, the advice they gave, where the money went, where they sank that money, and what led to this embarrassment.
That's it for sports.
Thank you very much, Benjamin Yamwa, aka Benghazi, for the sports updates there. We can now take you on the campaign trail. It is 7 minutes past the hour 6. Tonight on the campaign trail, we put the spotlight on the Galamsey menace, which is threatening our very existence as a country. The menace is ravaging our country, poisoning our water, air, forests, and communities. Galamsey has now become a critical national issue, with some calling on political parties in the country to make their stance clear on banning the menace. My guest to help us situate this conversation in a better perspective is Daryl Bosu, the Deputy Director of Arocha Ghana. He is also a seasoned environmental sustainability practitioner, and he's already seated. Remember that we are streaming live on Facebook, on Starr 103.5 FM. You can also send us your WhatsApp message on 055 288 0216. It is 055 288 0216. Once again, this is your campaign trail. Thank you very much for still staying with us here on Start today. Before we have the conversation with Daryl, my colleague Edem Kojo from the research desk has joined me in the studios with some interesting developments with regarding the Galamsey fight. Edem Kojo, thank you very much. So there's a statement from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. What exactly are they saying?
So the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources says the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, together with officials of the ministry, held extensive engagement with regional ministers to review our ongoing efforts at dealing with the canker of illegal small-scale mining. The meeting adopted additional measures at tackling the age-old national problem, of illegal small-scale mining, that is Galamsey, through a comprehensive approach. Government will continue with the dual strategy of reformative measures and strict enforcement. The regional ministers, along with the respective regional security councils, have been mandated to intensify enforcement actions within their various jurisdictions to contain incidents of illegal small-scale mining. Additionally, the Minerals Commission will enhance our reformative efforts, particularly through ramping up the establishment of responsive and legal community mining schemes, which have regard to the preservation of our national environment and landscape. Government remains steadfast and committed to continue to restore order and ensure other mining activities are conducted sustainably and legally in the national interest. We entreat all and sundry to support these efforts to enable us protect our environment, preserve our water bodies, and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. While government warmly welcomes the heightened interest in this all-important national issue, we urge the discourse to be devoid of partisanship so as to enable us galvanize the needed national and collective support to root out this canker. So this is the statement from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Thank you very much, Edem Kojo, for those updates there. We are going to have a conversation with Daryl now. And Daryl, I believe that you heard Edem Kojo when he read out that statement. You have been asking the government to institute measures to ban illegal mining. Is this response something you've been looking out for?
Well, thank you very much, Tutuwaa. Okay. Thank you for having me. And I think, yes, good evening to listeners. I will have to say that the first impression I got of this statement was this is just not being responsive.
Okay.
The statement is not responsive. I see it as just another PR.
It doesn't address the concerns you've raised.
No,
okay.
it is just another PR gimmick, as they always do. Quickly come out with statements to try and water down whatever citizens are asking for.
Okay.
I don't see anything new in this. They use new words, reformative actions, and all of that. That in itself doesn't say anything. Community mining has been one of the key areas where we are seeing the devastation happening to our water bodies and our forest reserves. And to say that you are going to ramp up the establishment of more community mining and all of that, does not resolve the issue.
Okay.
Today, when we met the joint civil action against Galamsey, there were certain key demands. And those demands were the fact that miners should stay off our rivers. We are indicating already there's a water resource buffer zone policy, which requires that if you're mining close to rivers, a certain buffer area, you need to stay clearly off those areas. They are not respecting that, as we know.
Okay.
So we are saying that, considering the emergency we find ourselves, within 100-meter buffer, all mining activities should cease. Would have expected a response where the minister would be saying that, yes, he himself had in the past indicated that our water bodies and forest reserves are no-go areas for mining. It's surprising that today, in this statement, he doesn't mention that anymore.
Okay.
Because I'm sure he knows that all the areas that he's talking about, ramping up community mining activities and all the things that they're talking, is all happening close to these rivers and forest reserve. So today, it's very surprising that he didn't mention that our forests and water bodies are no-go areas, which makes this statement for me one that's, as they are always good at, always come with very excellent PR.
Yeah, like
it doesn't really
communicate anything.
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
And then they also talked about to also address issues of incidents of small-scale mining. This is across the country. All the areas where you look at the western region, western north, Ashanti region, eastern region. So these are not just incidents. This is a menace across the country. And you see the attempt to downplay, and even they go ahead to talk about partisanship. And this is why I think we all need to be very, very careful. The whole issue of addressing Galamsey has been politicized by they themselves. This has been an issue that has been taken up strongly by civil society, but they have campaigned every election period on the back of Galamsey, saying that they are going to give people the opportunity to mine and all of that. We have heard, I think that was yesterday, the aspiring vice president.
I was actually going to have a conversation with you on the back of that. Because it won't be just SNAPO. Mahama also says that he's going to grant jailed illegal miners amnesty when he's voted into power. Then we have NAPO coming out to say that seized excavators will be returned to these people. Where really is the commitment?
No, I think we need to put these statements in context. And I recall that this statement that was made by the former president, John Mahama, that was in the 2020 election, I think.
Earlier this year, he made those comments as well.
So, we, Arusha Ghana, and the Ghana Environment Advocacy Group, wrote to the Chief Justice asking him what is happening to the way cases relating to Galamsey are adjudicated in our courts. Because we realized that there was selective justice when it comes to who is jailed and who is not jailed. You see that the young people, the boys, the men and women who go to the pits just to feed off the crumbs that fall from the master's table, they are the ones who are arrested and prosecuted. Whilst the main financiers are really left off the hook. So we asked, and even I think the fourth essay went in further to do further investigation and went to ask the prisons, who is in our prisons? They only found 2 Chinese people. This is against the backdrop of we seeing several Chinese being paraded on our televisions for engaging in Galamsey. So where did these people go? So it tells you that when it comes to the administration of justice, there's been issues with the way it's been handled in a selective manner. Akunta Mining was involved in illegal mining activity in the town of Nimiri. The minister himself came out to say it was illegal. Act 995 had just been passed. The government took no action. So we even tend to agree that we need to really interrogate the cases that brought certain persons to be confined for engaging in galamsey. So if it comes to that level where there's a need to really go into the judicial review of some of these cases, then that would also be somewhat recommended and supported, because we want to make sure that the right people are in our jails. And so I think that nobody, be it the NDC, the NPP, needs to campaign on the back of the fact that they are going to give people the opportunity to do mining, and based on that they should clamor for vote. I think that is a very low, cheap way of any political party campaigning. That means that they are lost for ideas. They don't have any new innovation. How can you hang your whole electoral fortune on a very destructive enterprise like galamsey? And it's very sad to see that that is all the message the politicians have. It tells you that our leaders are campaigning not based on real issues, based on long-term sustainability of the country, not based on the welfare of the people. They're just interested in the short-term gain. Because let me tell you, the gold will finish. When it is done, what do we do? So these are the big questions I think that all the people aspiring to serve us, take public office, need to be asking themselves.
Okay. Dario, when you were talking about the adjudication of galamsey offenders, you mentioned that some people who are in prison now are just those who go and pick up the breadcrumbs left, but they are in prison. Can we ever say that just galamsey can be justified?
Galamsey shouldn't be justified.
Okay.
It should never be justified. But you know where this came from? It came also from a political I would say, clamor for let's create jobs for the boys. I remember somewhere 2009 when this thing started in the previous regime, NDC government then, they were talking about, a lot of the MPs were talking about, if the big companies are there, why don't you allow our own boys to go? And so they started youth in mining. That's where all of this started. We weren't able to manage it as it should be done. We've come this far, and now it's become so entrenched. And now, like a canker, it is eating away other livelihoods, eating away the livelihood of farmers, destroying key commodities like cocoa, destroying our water body and all of that. So if you take that into account, you cannot in any way justify why anybody will say that because of gold, I need to displace everyone else. So nobody should be able to justify galamsey in whatever. I mean, you can't do it because of livelihood. What we see is that people are doing it just because they want to live large. If you go to the communities, you see community people suffering because they have to get water. They are not able to get it from their rivers that used to serve them. They need to grow their crops. The lands are no longer fertile, or they can't even use it. If you try, then you have to think also about the quality of the food. So galamsey is something that it's not sustainable mining, it's actually irresponsible mining. And no country should be able to even think about letting its leaders campaign on the back of promoting irresponsible mining, as we are seeing in the country now.
Should small scale in itself be banned or regulated?
You know, our Minerals and Mining Act 703 is very clear on what small scale mining is. And then who can do small scale mining. If we are working with the established regulations within the minerals and mining regime as we have now, I believe that it should work. The major problem is not with the small-scale mining itself, but the compliance and enforcement regime around it, ensuring compliance. Then again, we realize that whereas large-scale mining companies are required to post bonds to rehabilitate lands that they degrade and they destroy, small-scale miners get away with it. So they can go and work in an area. They can only submit a rehabilitation plan to the Environmental Protection Agency, and they are not required in any way to post a bond. Posting a bond is actually requiring the company to show commitment that should I destroy any parts of the area I'm mining, I'm going to commit to rehabilitating the land. It's a way of ensuring polluter pay principle. So when you take out the enforcement and compliance, which is very key, we need to also internalize the principle of polluter pay. where the miner takes responsibility so that it doesn't become a public cost.
Okay.
Right now, miners have devastated the country. They've gone, taking so many farmlands and destroyed them. Government has gone to take a loan from the World Bank. Now you ask yourself, who is going to pay back this loan? Is you and I, either you and I directly, or they are going to bring it upon us through taxes. Through taxes. And that's how it's going. So it shouldn't happen as somebody goes to mine, makes their wealth out of it, destroy the land, they go away, and then the public is
bear the
meant to
brunt.
pay.
I understand. I'm just getting a question from our Eastern Regional correspondent. He does a lot of environmental reporting as well. He's called Kujoan Sa. He says that so community mining introduced by the government be banned.
So
because according to he says that Oshinhene has described it as galamsey in disguise by politicians.
I mean, there's been several descriptions. Some people call it the English name for galamsey, community mining.
Right.
And we totally agree that community mining should be banned. The reason is this. We are already...
Even when it is regulated.
You know, the way it is now, it's supposed to be a regulated
activity,
smaller version of mining.
Okay.
Lower level, below small scale mining, of mining. But it is not being regulated as it should be. Now, the whole idea of community mining was supposed to be for communities that find themselves in an area where there's significant gold ore or minerals. So the community itself can then take advantage of that opportunity and work towards exploring that. But what we are seeing is an abuse of the community mining scheme where people in government connected to the ruling party through their constituency chairpersons and DCEs who apply, so somebody can live in Accra and apply to do community mining in the Western North area because he's an MPP person.
Okay.
And that is not how you are ensuring transparency. You are ensuring in terms of fair and equitable distribution of mining concessions, because already you see that it's going to the cronies. So in this sense, the very idea why community mining was established has been defeated.
Okay.
Allowing community people closer to some of these mineral hotspots to benefit from it. It's not what is happening. The government is tacitly exploring that opportunity and allowing its people to really benefit. It goes the same way as we have seen for the issue of mining in forest reserve. Within a period of 2022, November 2022, to us, I mean, the current time as I'm speaking, the government had issued not less than 10 mining concessions for forest reserves, as against 24 years ago, just 5 mining concessions for forest reserves. Now, if you go in depth and look at who is benefiting from this, through the Fourth Estate investigation, all of these concessions are going to the government's old cronies, people in government, people connected to the government or to the party.
Okay.
So you get a sense that there's an opportunity to leverage our natural resources for the development of the country, but the manner in which it's been done is more towards public self-captured interest, or also for the interest of the party and for the interest of people in government, not for the interest of the state.
Okay.
I've seen in the statement that the minister issued that they are going to ensure that these things are done in the interest of the state. There is no altruistic motive for issuing mining concessions that is going to destroy forest reserve, that is also providing water resources to millions and millions of Ghanaians.
Okay.
Ghana has got over 280 forest reserves. So if we have decided to set aside just 30 of them as protected forest reserves, not to be touched, not to be mined, not to be harvested for anything, and this government thinks that, well, we have reached a point in our development that we need to even touch those protected forests, then we have a problem.
Okay.
We are not thinking holistically about sustainability as a nation. We're only thinking about today, and that is where the problem is.
Okay. In all of this, what will be your assessments of the Ministry of Environment?
The Ministry of Environment, well, I think as we speak, the only problem we have with them now is they've been actively involved in the passage of the LI 2462. The law that allows for mining in some protected forest reserves. Before, there was no law like that. Actually, before, there was a guideline that only allowed for mining in what we call production forest reserves. Now, the Ministry of Environment has supervised the enactment of a law that is actually going to allow for, they call it environmental protection, but in our view, it's environmental destruction, Because you're opening up protected forest for destruction. So to that effect, they have a lot of responsibility because they also are responsible for monitoring the mining in terms of the scoping that is done, the public hearings that are supposed to be done in terms of ensuring that the people uphold FPIC, free, proud, and informed consent. People are going about doing mining in areas where they've not even engaged with the people. It is a responsibility of the EPA, which is under the Ministry of Environment, through LI 1652, to ensure that before anybody undertakes mining anywhere, you take due consideration on whether the area is a very sensitive environmental area or the area has some significance for other purposes. They need to ensure that people respect those regulations. But we have not seen that. And the excuse has always been for the fact that they are just a regulatory agency. They are not the police. So I think they bear some responsibility. And just like we think that every state agency bears responsibility, like the Minerals Commission, they have said we only issue concessions for legal mining companies. But the fact that you are in charge of minerals of the state, if somebody is illegally exploring gold anywhere or any other mineral, you should be interested. What you hear them say is that, oh, we are only regulatory, we only manage legal licensed companies. So if you are not legal, they have not given you a permit themselves, they can see you and just drive past, which is unfortunate. That means that they have not really taken full cognizance of the job that they are supposed to do.
Okay. In recent times, we have seen calls from CSOs, clergymen, media persons calling for the ban on illegal mining. It's actually very beautiful to know that people are still thinking that the environment can be saved. But why did you have to wait for this long to do this?
I don't think we've waited for this long.
I haven't seen a robust style of fighting against the canker like I'm seeing now.
So you see, citizens have had trusts in the states. An agency, we have put our trust. We have a social contract with the state. They are supposed to take care of us as we take care of them. So for a long time, we have trusted, had faith in that particular relationship, and trusted that once we engage through dialogue, they are going to act in our best interest. We have seen consistently, to some extent, somewhere in 2018, when the government started working on Galamsey with the pushing halt, we saw some small changes happening, some good results. But going forward, what we've seen is that it wasn't really a true commitment, because what they needed to do was ensure that they back Operation Halt with sufficient compliance and prosecutions. They didn't do it. Instead of making sure that we strengthen the mining regime, they came up with community mining to further water down the regulation as it was and make it more open for people to have access. So to that extent, you realize that the pressure has always been on. I was reading about the Ghana Water Company release on the case of the Cape Coast water pollution, and then they're talking about shutting down their system. Ghana Water Company has been issuing caution statements since 2009. And this Cape Coast one was, for me, just the tip of the iceberg. It's been happening for a long time. CSOs, clergy, have been issuing warnings from time to time. But you see, we are at a point where people are now dying. There are more increased cases of renal diseases, terminal cases popping up in terms of kidney diseases. Our doctors are talking about incidents of more renal disease showing up in areas where Galamsey is prevalent. We're also talking about pollution of our water bodies. We are sitting in Accra. We might not be in those communities, but you never know the water you are drinking, where it's coming from. The water that flows through our taps. The Ghana Water Company has said they will clean the water. They will make sure they take out all the sediments and everything, but they can't take out the heavy metals. So we might even be using the heavy metal to wash, to cook, or to do something. And some of us can't keep using bottled water or even sachet water to cook. We eventually must use some of these water that flows from our taps and other places. So you see, the pressure has been on, but at the point where we find ourselves, and the fact that even during an election year, People want to see sustainability issues being the point of convergence for the state. We are seeing that the political party still rallying around the fact that we are still going to allow the pollution of our rivers to continue.
Okay.
We are going to see the destruction of our water bodies, of our forest reserves continue. And that is where I think that it's a ticking time bomb for Ghanaians. Everybody says, no, we can't let this happen. Nobody is happy about it. We all agree that Galamsey is really causing us a big harm, and we need to deal with it. But the politicians have not agreed on how they should do it, and that is where the problem is.
Okay.
So we are using the opportunity this time around to make sure that we deal with this once and for all, because we can't go into the next election with this issue still at our neck. And I think that's why we are really ramping up all the support we can get. And today we saw a very big joint civil action from the civil society, from the media coalition, from the religious body, the Catholic Bishop Conference of Ghana, and also CASA Initiative. Then we also have organizations like Labor, Organized Labor, all of them pitching in. Now, this time is different because we are also tying it with demonstrations and strikes. Now, this is a strong bargaining power that the government cannot ignore. So it's either they act on this, or we see how we are all going to live in this country.
Okay. Very interesting. We are wrapping up, unfortunately. I would have loved for us to have an extended conversation because this is quite a very serious issue. Daryl, in the event that the ministry or government does not give you what you're looking for by September 30, what is going to be that big line of action that you are threatening, if I may put it that way?
I think it's very clear. We have already indicated that we are going to put forward several planning for demonstrations and strikes, and organized labor is going to lead that. So we are actually going to keep a close eye on government. This statement, I guess, is just to tell us that, okay, we listened to you, we heard you, but this is not what we expected.
It doesn't stop you.
They have to really go back, revise their notes, and really come and respond to the issues that we have raised. Okay. This is maybe they didn't hear our statement.
But I want to know briefly, would it for you be if they release a statement that is more convincing, will that halt your protest? Or you'd rather see them act?
There's a way they must couch some of these statements. First of all, we need to see government coming up. We said that we want to see a state of emergency. That needs to be done in a public announcement. That needs to be announced in the areas where Galamsey is happening. We also said that we want to see all miners on our rivers and forest reserves out of those areas. So we really need to see those actions until we are going to take them seriously. Okay. So they really have a lot of things to do rather than just to come and issue a statement. Yes, the statement is important, but we are monitoring their actions as well.
Right. Thank you very much. That wraps up today's edition of Starr Today. I've been engaged in Daryl Boso. He's a Deputy Director of Arocha Ghana, also a seasoned environmental sustainability practitioner. And that wraps up Starr Today here on Starr FM. For more news updates, please visit starfm.com.gh. I am Tutuwaa Danso. Have a good evening on behalf of my entire production team, led by Eko Anan, Edem Kojo, and Benjamin Saki, and of course, Emmanuel Donko, for making this stream possible as always. Thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.